Welcome to episode 3 of the Lifestyle Health Podcast. In this episode, I interview Azeem Panjwani. Azeem is the founder of Arksense. Still in development, Arksense will be launching a platform for individuals with chronic illnesses to monitor their health. Azeem has a passion for preventative health and longevity, which he explores and shares about through his Substack newsletter titled Every Day. Prior to Arksense, Azeem worked with a healthcare venture studio, 2070 Health, to build early-stage companies. In college, he was the director of Project Asbah, which won the 2019 World Water Race by Enactus and helped to provide clean water to over 35,000 people across India. He holds a degree in economics and business from Shri College of Commerce. And without further ado, I bring you Azeem Panjwani. All right, I'm here with Azeem Panjwani. Azeem, thanks for joining the podcast. Great to see you.
Hi. Yeah, good to see you too.
So, I believe, I'm trying to remember exactly, we met through like Substack. I think you had reached out and we connected sometime
Yeah.
a year and a half or so ago. And we've been in touch since, just our mutual interests in health. So, yeah, I guess give the audience like a quick run on your background, how you got into sort of the health space, and I'll be asking more about what you've been working on. But you're working on a startup. But I guess just give a quick background on yourself if you could.
Yeah, definitely. No, thanks, Luke, for having me. I'm Azeem, and I did my undergrad in like business and economics. After that, I was specifically working as like an operator, a startup operator, like on multiple projects, doing a lot of things. Like initially, I started with the education space, where I was working with the government of India, and after that, with like an edtech startup in their founder's office role. After that, like I started working in a venture studio, which is a healthcare based venture studio where we were building healthcare companies in India and the US. And that was like my first experience of being in the healthcare space professionally and building companies from scratch. So I was specifically working on a cancer care company that we were building in India and providing like personalized cancer care by setting up certain cancer care clinics. So did that for a while. Personally, like I have been type 1 diabetic. Like I was diagnosed when I was 11 years old, and have been managing that over these years. There were certain complications that I had faced somewhere in 2023, and that kind of like made me more curious about the healthcare space and take that particular decision of like working into a venture capital fund, building these healthcare companies, because eventually I wanted to build my own company. So yeah, did that, and then like left the venture capital fund to start my own company sometime last year, like end of last year. And right now I am building a continuous biomarker monitoring and a care navigation platform specifically for chronic diseases. And the mission stems from like my own experiences as being a type 1 diabetic and learning a lot of things by being a chronic disease patient. So yeah.
Awesome. Yeah, and I will definitely be asking a lot about your current work shortly here. But I was reading one of your Substack posts again recently, and I want to ask a bit about like some of the things you worked on with the venture studio. And actually, quick question there: is there a difference between like a venture studio and a venture firm? Like, is there a...
Yes. So a venture studio is something where like you deploy the capital in the company that you are incubating out of that firm itself, rather than like deploying the capital to external startups. So
Okay.
what we used to do was like we used to have our own research team that is doing research and finding certain white spaces in healthcare, and then like kind of doing the problem validation, building out a business model, and then we used to like put in our initial capital and incubate the company out of our organization itself. So yeah,
Gotcha.
that's the difference between a VC firm and a venture studio.
Interesting. Yeah, and in
Yeah.
one of your earlier Substack posts, you wrote about two things you were working on last year before your current startup. You said the first, starting an at-home developmental therapy offering for kids in Bangalore, speech, behavioral, and occupational therapies delivered at home, improving convenience, experience, and outcomes. Yeah, tell me a bit about
Yeah.
that project.
Yeah, definitely. So that was with one of the portfolio companies that we had. So that portfolio company is building like a full stack model for childcare in India, where we were setting up certain pediatric clinics in Bangalore and providing end-to-end care to kids the moment they are born, like till they are 18 years of age. And one of the product offerings that we had was around providing therapies to kids who had like certain issues related to speech, behavior issues. And initially, we were doing that in the clinics itself. But we realized that a lot of patients, given a lot of like parents, given both of them were working, they didn't have time to like come to the clinic and ensure that their kids are getting these therapies. So we thought of like piloting and experimenting with like providing these therapies at home to these kids. And what we were doing was like we were uh, like our therapists were actually going to their houses and providing these therapies to the kids at parents' convenience. And we found out that, okay, like the patient experience was really good and the engagement was really good. So uh, it was like a test run that we did to basically understand if people would be willing to take these therapies at home versus clinics.
Nice.
Yeah.
That's cool. And so was there like kind of a lasting, like once you like kind of validated that, did that become like, is that still an active business then now?
So therapies are like an active business for the company that I was like piloting this for. But we scrapped the at-home developmental therapy, like doing it at home, because of
Mhm.
like a lot of operational challenges that we uncovered. Now, what we are doing is like we're building more clinics and in like a lot of neighborhoods to ensure that that access to parents for these therapies is there.
Gotcha. Cool.
Yeah.
What was the name of the venture studio that you had?
The name of the venture studio is 2070 Health,
Nice. Yeah.
and it's a part of a venture capital fund called as W Health Ventures.
Another project you said you wrote about was building an online oncology nutrition vertical for cancer patients across India, helping them reduce side effects during cancer treatment and reduce the probability of cancer recurrence. I guess I didn't know that like nutrition could be like such a, I mean, obviously nutrition's important for
Yeah.
everything, but in terms of like cancer care, tell me a little bit about that.
Yeah. So this was part of the company that I was building and helping the venture studio to build. The cancer care company where we were like setting up personalized cancer care clinics across India. And when we were doing like a lot of research and also like when patients were coming to our clinics, we realized that, okay, like with the actual therapy, there is also a need for like personalized nutrition or like psychological support for these patients
Mhm.
because the usual treatment is something that obviously will like help these patients recover, but then there are a lot of side effects that happen when like a patient is going through chemotherapy or like
Mhm.
any other kind of treatment as part of their cancer journey. And we decided to basically solve for that particular problem as well, where we were helping these patients build out like personalized nutrition plans for them and providing like certain nutritional support in terms of like what kind of food they should be eating based on the treatment that they are going through and the side effects that they are having, and what kind of supplements they should be taking to basically accelerate their entire treatment and ensure that the healthcare outcomes are there and they are like getting those healthcare outcomes faster. So we identified that there's like a white space where nobody is doing that, and there's a very high need to do it. So we built like an online cancer nutrition program where we had a functional nutritionist who was helping these patients and certain dietitians with us, helping these patients like on their entire cancer journey with nutrition and like certain supplements.
Nice.
Yeah.
You use this phrase white space. I haven't never I've never heard that. It's just like an area where people aren't really working, like solving the problems that are there, sort of thing.
Yeah, it's kind of like an overlooked area or like a sector where, okay, there is a problem, but nobody's kind of like solving that particular problem. So I'm referring white space to that. Yeah.
I'm curious, was there like any sort of comparison or like out study that resulted, like could you see better outcomes in the patients that had the nutrition support?
Yes. So we didn't do like any study as such, but then the patients who were going through, say, like chemotherapy, we saw good outcomes in terms of like the adherence to the chemotherapy itself, because it happens a lot of times that a patient obviously has to take like multiple sessions of chemo as part of their cancer treatment journey. And because of like certain side effects, they tend to fall off the treatment and like delay their chemotherapy sessions. But if like they are helped with their nutrition and different kinds of like vitamins and supplements, they tend to adhere to their schedule well, which means that the treatment journey is happening on time and the healthcare outcomes are something that they are achieving. So we did see like certain benefits in the adherence to the treatment itself, but there was
Nice.
no formal study done. Yeah.
Gotcha. Yeah. That makes
Yeah.
sense though, in terms of like staying regular with things. Cool. And yeah, so shifting gears a bit, like with your current startup, Arksense, is that what it's called? Yeah. Tell me about how your own sort of like personal experience with type 1 diabetes has kind of helped influence what you're working on now. Because my understanding is that it's kind of like your own experiences and the lack of, personalized care for type 1 diabetes kind of part of the story here, right?
Yeah, definitely. So it all started like back in 2023 when there were certain complications that I had faced related to like kidney issues and like liver issues. And that was the point when I actually took charge of my health and started like working towards it to solve for those complications. And during that journey, like I started wearing a CGM, which is a continuous glucose monitor that gives you data 24/7 about how your blood sugar levels are fluctuating depending on like whatever you do, based on like what food you are eating, how your day is going, what kind of mental stress you have. So that continuous data, along with getting an agency to kind of being able to do experiments to understand how I can keep those glucose levels in range, kind of help me solve for those complications, and were the initial like was the initial idea and the genesis for the company that I am building right now. Because like for almost 10 years of my diabetic journey, I wasn't managing it well because I didn't have like tools to use to get like proper data and like a feedback loop as well. And that is what like I am solving at Arksense for chronic diseases, because it's the same with like other kind of chronic diseases where a patient is going through a kidney disease or a cardiovascular disease. There are multiple things that they have to take care of throughout the day, and multiple decisions that they have to take based on like food, exercise, etc., along with their like normal lives, like and normal jobs that they are doing. So
Mhm.
I'm building a continuous biomarker monitoring platform along with a care navigation platform that help these patients kind of like just be at peace, and just help them like manage their disease better. Because at the end, like managing a chronic disease is kind of like a full-time job.
Yeah,
But in my opinion, it should not be like that. And that is what I am like solving for, to take the burden out of these patients.
nice. Yeah, that's a
Yeah.
really good selling point in terms of like having some sort of slogan.
Yeah.
Like managing chronic diseases should not be a full-time job.
Yeah.
Check out ArcSense.
Yes,
um,
definitely.
yeah, that's awesome. Tell me a bit about how like how things have kind of evolved and changed from when you first started working on it in terms of um, yeah, I guess like the business model, how things have transformed in terms of I'm sure you've
Yeah.
done like a lot of kind of conversations with different interested parties, and that has shaped tends to shape
Yeah.
things in ways that are unexpected.
Yeah, definitely. So we are building this for the US market. And like in these last few months, I have spent a lot of time understanding the healthcare system itself, which is very different from like what we have in India. And it has taken a lot of time for me to understand the complexities of the healthcare system itself. So that has been like completely new for me, a challenging process, yet a fun process, I would say. Initially, we were building a hardware itself for like chronic disease management, something similar to a continuous glucose monitor, but a monitor or a sensor that measures like different kinds of biomarkers for these patients, specifically targeting like kidney disease and like cardiovascular disease. But we moved our thesis from a hardware to a monitoring platform and a care navigation platform, because we realized that there are a lot of companies that are trying to build the hardware. And the major problem was around the care delivery itself, because it is extremely tough for patients to navigate through the healthcare system. For example, like for a kidney patient, like they have to go to different kinds of specialists. Like they have to go to a cardiologist for like understanding and for their issues related to heart. They have to go to nephrologists primarily because of like kidney issues, and they at times also have to see endocrinologists. And they are also like kind of prescribed a lot of medications that they have to take, but there is no proper support that is provided to them in this entire care journey, or like when they are on these therapies to take like certain medication. And at the end, it's a very time consuming and uh, mentally heavy process for these patients. And these patients are like elder patients, like beyond 60 years of age. So yeah, we realize that the care delivery is a problem, where there are a lot of things that these patients are asked to do, but generally they do not adhere to doing all of those things. And we are building a solution to kind of like help them manage those things well. Yeah.
Nice. Um, so with the shift from hardware to software, then will the platform be designed just to like allow a bunch of, I'm sure there's like kind of a lot of integration related things in terms of
Yeah.
partnering with other, I mean, how will that work? You'll just kind of allow data streams from a bunch of different types of sensors and things like that.
Yes. Yes. So the idea is like providing the already existing hardware that is there to these patients, and just integrating the entire care for them and making it easier for them to do that monitoring and do that decision making via like clinicians. Because right now what happens is like the data of whatever monitoring that these patients might be doing does not flow in a manner for clinicians to take like decisions related to when to titrate their medications or what kind of interventions to recommend. And a lot of patients like fall off the treatment itself because of this gap. So the idea is to like help clinicians make these decisions for these patients via like flowing that data, and patients to be on therapies that actually improve their healthcare outcomes.
Nice. What are some
Yeah.
of the types of like I guess newer sensors or besides blood glucose monitoring or sort of like the traditional stuff you get with wearables that are is coming onto the market or will be relevant to your business?
Yeah. One of the sensors that could be extremely relevant for our business would be like a continuous potassium monitor, which even like Dexcom is building, and they announced it in their investor presentation in in the month of May, 2026.
Nice.
And potassium is extremely important for us or like any kidney patient or a heart failure patient, is because like the medications that they are on or like different kinds of interventions that they are on at times lead to like high potassium levels or low potassium levels, most of the time high potassium levels. And the condition is called hyperkalemia, which when happens, like patients have to go to an emergency room and get admitted into an ER, and it's an extremely like burdensome process for these patients in terms of like cost and mentally as well. So if there is like kind of a continuous potassium monitor similar to a continuous glucose monitor, they will be able to like see what their potassium levels are, and doctors would be able to intervene proactively whenever the potassium levels are going high or going low for these patients, and that could be like extremely helpful. So those kind of sensors are coming into the market.
That's very cool. Um,
Yeah.
what is the, it seems like a lot of it has to do with chronic kidney disease, but also it seems like the platform will be useful to people with diabetes. Are those kind of the main focuses, or like how wide is the focus in terms of what sorts of patients would be interested in using the platform?
Yeah. So we are specifically right now targeting cardio kidney metabolic patients, which involve like patients having type 2 diabetes, hypertension, and certain like initial stages of kidney disease. So that is what we are focusing on. And all of these are like kind of metabolic diseases that could lead to like issues in different kinds of organs. So the vision actually is to like help patients like solve these metabolic issues that happen like proactively, and not let them go into like an end stage disease, which is like extremely costly for the system as well as for these patients. So
Mhm.
that is what we are focusing on largely right now.
Very nice. Cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, I want to shift focus a little bit, kind of nicely pairs with what you're saying with preventative care and just the lifestyle sort of piece of things, and how disease course can be steered in the right direction. Um, so tell me a bit about kind of your own health journey. It sounds like you had uh, some sort of a sort of turning point in your learning to manage your own diabetes, which is kind of concurrent with your own career path. How has your own sort of perspective on health and health journey evolved over the years?
Yeah. I think like there are very simple things that I feel could be done very easily. Like, I mean, you don't have to like specifically do extreme fancy stuff to kind of get great healthcare outcomes. So basic stuff like just making sure that whatever food that you're eating is like clean, whole foods that you're eating, and I mean, at least I prefer like eating as low carb food as possible and being in ketosis, because that is what helps me ensure that my blood sugar levels are not fluctuating that
Mhm.
much. And just being in ketosis also helped me like solve for the complications that I had faced related to like kidney and liver issues um, 3 years back. So yeah, just for the context, like, I mean, your body uses different kinds of fuels to basically produce energy. Glucose is the major fuel that your body uses. But in my experience, like, ketones are the other fuel that also your body uses when glucose is not available. And ketosis is like way better fuel for your brain, for energy, and for your metabolic function, because that kind of like helped me also reverse certain biomarkers that were like extremely off for me 3 years back. Then I think basic things in terms of exercise, like I try to lift weights or like do some resistance training like 3 days a week. Not much, just ensuring that, okay, there's right amount of muscle mass, lean muscle mass that I'm trying to build.
Mhm.
And then I also ensure like to just walk to the places that are no more than 30 minutes from the area that I am living in. So like simple basic habits have kind of like helped me just not think so much about my health, yet like manage my health really well. So
Mhm.
yeah, I mean, these were the learnings that I have had over these years, and now I have been able to like have that set routine to just ensure that okay, I'm not like making unnecessary decisions throughout the day, and I am like more focused and more concentrated into like the work that I'm doing. So yeah, yeah, those would be like the basic things that I do.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I like
Yeah,
what you say about simple habits. I think that's like kind of the unsung hero of being healthy, right? Just like making things automatic and having those good habits that you don't have to think about, but which pay off in the long run.
yeah,
Yeah, and thanks for, I think the audience will appreciate the ketosis explanation. And so yeah, ketones are what you what you're burning when you're burning fat instead of glucose. And yeah, tell me a bit about that. Do you do like a pretty strict ketogenic diet and like also monitor the like your ketone levels? And I mean, I have to imagine you are regularly tracking your blood glucose, so like being like kind of
yeah,
dialed with it is more important, you
yeah,
know?
definitely. So, I mean, like, I ensure that I'm not eating a lot of carbs and like just eating very high protein and high fat foods throughout the day, which could be like I'm a non vegetarian, so I eat like eggs, meat is there, and different kinds of like cheeses or like dairy food to just ensure that I'm intaking right amount of protein and fats throughout the day. Good sources of fats that I like regularly eat are your nuts, such as like walnuts, almonds, and like macadamia nuts, which I love, and like avocado and other kinds of good fats, such as like olive oil, etc., which keep me full throughout the day, and there are no like cravings for hunger. Per se, I would say that the only objective that I have in my head throughout the day is not to eat like carbs and ultra processed carbs. And as a downstream effect of that, I eat like high protein and high fat foods. Then, in terms of like ketone monitoring, I do that. Like, I have a strip, like a urine strip,
Hmm.
through which I monitor my ketone levels. And that is also like extremely important for a type 1 diabetic to do, because very high levels of ketones or like mismanagement in your blood sugar levels could lead to a condition called as diabetic ketoacidosis, which
Hmm.
is kind of poisonous, where like then I need to go to like an emergency room to just ensure that I am getting those ketone levels on in range. And yeah, that has not happened like since I have started taking care of my health and started tracking things really well. But yeah, I do the tracking and monitoring using the ketone urine strips that are available.
Interesting. Yeah. Because the thing with the ketoacidosis is actually like you end up getting like too
Yeah.
high levels of ketones, right? And then that ends up being toxic.
Yeah. Like it leads to certain issues. Like there are certain very clear symptoms. It has happened with me in past where like you feel the shortness of breath and you're just like completely feeling uneasy, nauseous, or like you start vomiting whatever you are eating. And then like you have to just go to a hospital and ensure that you're being taken care of.
Yeah.
And it's a very common phenomena for like a type 1 diabetic. So yeah, I mean, like whatever I am doing is like under supervision of a doctor. So yeah.
Tell me about what it's been like for you. It's been, has it been about a year now since you started working on Arksense, or
So
when did you?
it's been like 4 months, I would say. I
Oh,
started in the beginning of February when I moved to San Francisco. And yeah, 4 to 5 months roughly, I would say.
has your kind of amount of time working changed a lot? Like in terms of, I know as a founder, especially in the early stages, like you kind of got to
Yeah.
just stay dialed nonstop. How has that been for you in terms of like still uh, keeping your habits and staying healthy and not burning out?
Yeah. I think initially when I moved to SF, it was kind of tough to like get into that particular routine to just manage everything because I had to figure out like what kind of food I should be eating, from where I should be getting the food, what gym I should be like going to, and when, and everything. So I think the initial 1 month was like extremely tough, just figuring out all of these things and like experimenting with different kinds of routines. But when I was able to like figure out these things mainly related to like food and exercise, I think it became simpler then. And then I didn't have to like make a lot of decisions about doing all of these things. So I was just making sure that whatever food I'm eating from like the same restaurant and the same kind of dish to just like avoid that decision making fatigue.
Yeah.
And like going to the gym on like the set days. So I was keeping it extremely simple, where like the two non-negotiables were like, okay, ensuring that I'm eating the same food and the protein intake is happening every day, so that like I don't lose weight or like my sugar levels don't go off. And number two was around like exercising and like sleeping well. And just keeping things simple basically made me focus and concentrated on the work that I was doing. And work still has been like very chaotic and very overwhelming, but just keeping these non-negotiables and not making them extremely complicated is what like helps me keep sane in whatever work that I am doing.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, right now it's in routine and it's all good.
Yeah. Nice.
Yeah.
How have you found like living in San Francisco? I think it's kind of maybe different, at least the sense I got when I like visited there last year was like people, I've heard that people like don't stay out as late because it's a lot of, like
Yeah.
tech founders and people that are very focused on work. And so people are like, just like cultural behavior is very kind of focused on like on work
Yeah.
and being healthy. And how have you found that to be different,
Oh,
I guess, compared to other places you've lived? Or yeah.
yeah. I think like for so many reasons, SF has been really great for me in terms of like, yeah, I think spending these many months in SF really kind of pushed my ceiling for the ambition that I have for like building my own company. And it's, I think, downstream of just being around, um, so being around such people who kind of like push your ambition level, and everything kind of like feels attainable over there. So
Mhm.
that was really great. I really loved the people over there as well, because they were just like ready to help all the time, and just ensure that like you are moving forward. So that kind of like optimistic view about like whatever you are trying to do, and just giving that helping hand, was something which was very different from where I have lived previously. And yeah, to your point, like, I mean, everybody kind of like sleeps early, things get shut uh, late evening. They are not, I mean, not much of night life is there.
Mhm.
And that is something which I kind of enjoyed and got ingrained into easily as well, because I'm a morning person. I wake up generally at 5 6 a.m. And I love that kind of routine where like, okay, I'm waking up early, maybe doing some exercise or like reading, etc., and having my time with myself, and then like actually starting to work. So that kind of routine was really good, and I just found it to be like simpler to just getting integrated into it. But yeah, SF as a city is amazing. I loved it.
Yeah. I want to kind of do a bit of a rapid fire round of questions here at the end. And we've kind of touched on habits, and you were just kind of talking about those a bit. Again, what would you say is like maybe your like most consistent habit, or like kind of your favorite thing that like is like a center point of your day in terms of staying healthy?
I think it's like waking up early in the morning and just like reading and having my coffee. That has stayed consistent with me wherever I have gone. So I do carry my book or like my Kindle wherever I'm reading, and yeah, that habit has stayed with me, and I
What you,
love that. I mean, it just like calms me a lot.
what are you currently reading?
I'm reading Infinity Machine, which is a biography on like Demis Hassabis, who is the founder of DeepMind.
I watched a documentary about him
Oh
recently. I think it
yeah,
might have been like kind of like part like related. I don't know. I actually don't know. It seems like it could have been related to the book or came out around the same time, but it was really interesting.
yeah.
What's something you've changed your mind about? I guess maybe related to health, but I guess anything.
I think it's more of related to health, and there's something which we also spoke before on, like just ensuring that I'm taking simple habits more seriously than like optimizing for certain biohacking interventions or biohacker interventions, I would say. So just ensuring that, okay, the food that I'm eating is good and I'm exercising and moving regularly is something on which I have changed my mind a lot. So I'm not optimizing for like a lot of things, just for like basic things. So yeah.
Nice. What's your favorite go-to meal if you're cooking something for yourself?
Oh, I love sushis a lot.
Yeah.
So yeah,
Do you like buy the like
yeah.
sushi fish and like do it, you make it yourself too?
No, no, I can't make it. Like I don't know how to make it, but I love eating Japanese food in general. So yeah,
Yeah.
that's my go-to food or comfort food at times.
Nice. Yeah. I love sushi as well.
Yeah.
Are you much of a runner, or what is your kind of like go-to exercise if any?
Yeah, I do run like at least two times a week. I love hiking a lot. So like almost every Sunday when I was in SF, I was going to like a new hike. And that's another thing that I loved about SF, that you have access to like nature and different kinds of hikes which are not beyond like 1 hour to wherever you are living in the city. So that was the best part as well.
Yeah. Did you go up to Muir Woods?
No.
Which
I
I
did
think
like a
I've
lot of
done. John Muir, like the redwoods that are just, I think that's what it's called.
Yes, yeah. There's like a Sequoia National Park, but I didn't go there. I did go to like Lake Tahoe, which was amazing, and then a lot of hikes near the Golden Gate itself,
Yeah.
to the north and the south of the Golden Gate. So yeah, that was pretty cool.
Yeah, that's awesome. What's something you've been focused on learning about lately?
I think I've been pretty focused on the work that I'm doing because, like, I mean, it's extremely challenging for like figuring out what kind of business model to have and how to do the go to market because it's a new space, not new space, I would say, but like a new geography that I'm trying to enter into. So just like learning about the American healthcare system has been something that I have been focused on with everything that I'm doing.
Yeah. Do you feel like had to spend a lot of time just like learning about the U.S. healthcare system in order to like kind of do the proper business planning and things like that?
Yeah, yeah. I think talking to like people who are part of the healthcare system really helps. And yeah, I mean, like one of the examples is like talking to you. You work at Epic, which is an EHR company with 70% of, I think, healthcare systems used. So yeah, talking to people, understanding from their experiences how they have navigated it, what kind of work they are doing
Mhm.
is the most interesting part for me as well, because that just unlocks a lot of like insights and information for me.
Nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess quick follow-up question there. I thought of asking it earlier too, but I'm curious, will there be some sort of or do you hope for there to be like a reimbursement model around the platform, or will it be like what will be the kind of revenue stream, or is that kind of still getting figured out?
So the short answer is it is kind of being figured out, but whatever I have understood, there are like certain reimbursement codes for patients that CMS has, which could be used by the patient. So patients would not have to pay out of pocket. It would be more of like the payers who would be paying for it, or the insurances that these patients have. And that is the primary objective as well that we have, that we don't want to basically give that extra burden to these patients to make out of pocket expenses. So yeah, the business model would involve an insurance and a reimbursement, which are already there in the system right now. But what, or like the specifics of it, is something that we are figuring out right now.
Nice.
Yeah.
Well, I just have one last question we can end on, which is, you're focusing on making this business for people with chronic diseases. You've had your own, you kind of have your own experience with type 1 diabetes. I guess what sort of advice could you impart to the audience in terms of maintaining your health so you don't end up having to, constantly care for a chronic disease?
Yeah. I think the major thing would be just like focusing on the basic stuff, not drinking, not exposing yourself to certain events which could lead to certain catastrophic things in your life, not smoking, not ensuring, like ensuring that you're not taking like any drugs or all of those things, and then like really focusing on the kind of food that you're eating. Food, exercise, and sleep is something, yeah, that I would say for people to like take care of, and just do like simple things like don't eat ultra processed food, move very often, and just ensure that you're getting 7 to 8 hours of sleep every day. So yeah, just do basic things, but take these basic things seriously.
Yeah, nice.
Yeah.
Where can people find you? I alluded to your Substack page, but where can people find you online? Maybe you could share about that.
Yeah, like I have a website which is called azeempanjwani.com. Then Substack is there. And I'm pretty active on LinkedIn and X. So people can find me by Azeem Panjwani, and I would be happy to chat. Yeah.
Awesome. Great. Well, thanks, Azeem. I've enjoyed speaking with you again, and Be in touch.
Yep, definitely. Thank you.
Thanks for listening to the Lifestyle Health Podcast.
Nice!